If there's one thing that's kind of an interesting place right now, it's the family of God, because we're in our homes, and for years we sang that song, I'm so glad I'm part of the family of God. Isn't that the truth? And yet now we just get to see each other in these little boxes, and isn't it precious? It is precious. I just feel like my heart gets filled up when I see people that I know, or I have a reference, or just knowing that we're a bunch of ladies getting together. And Jamey came and said, what do you think about sharing your heart? And I thought, well, what's in my heart these days? And I know we're all 24/7 in our homes. We're leaving to go to work, but then we're pretty much coming home and running to the grocery store, and then we're coming home again. And so it's worth taking maybe a few moments and talking about ourselves and our homes, what we're doing in our homes, and also who's living with us. And how many of you guys are with family? You've got hubbies or kids. Okay, how many of you are isolated? You're by yourself. There's a few of us. So that's cool. It's both sides are difficult, right? I mean, both sides are precious, and you get your routines and all of that going. Precious times with your families, and the isolation sometimes is really big, as far as we're made to talk to each other. So that's why I'm just really appreciating all that Jamey is doing to put this stuff together and bring us together and have our thoughts. So if we do our job well tonight, we want to be able to just inspire things in our spirit, so that we can actually, have strategies and ideas of what we're doing while we have this extra time, and actually carry it out. And I think that's really a cool opportunity. So I started with the comment, if you build it, they will come. That famous comment. Well, now in the quarantine, I'm saying, what is the comment? If you slow down the pace of your life, you will find God. And that's kind of geared towards the family of God, those that are getting together. And so just thinking about all the changes that we have gone through. Isn't it unbelievable, the massive switching around and the rules that we have now, and the just the changes. And probably the one comment that comes that is kind of introductory is, boy, if I just had more time. How many times have we said that before this quarantine? Yeah, Dawn is over there saying, yeah, I mean, I have things in my heart that I'm like, for years I've said, if I just had the time, this is what I would do. Well, now, guess what? It's been 4, 5, 6 weeks. And guess what? Some of that stuff is still not done, right? You have to kind of laugh about it, give yourself some grace, because there's other routines that we're picking up now. But that time excuse can't be used now for some of the things. I know the one thing that I have said for years is, if I had more time, I think I would just call people. I would call some of my family that's a long way from me, and some of my friends that are so dear, and just catch up with them. I'm such a big texter, right? So my life turned into texting and quick answers. And even I went 2 or 3 weeks without really communicating. I just thought, wow, that's one thing I've said for years. I would love to just kind of make some phone calls. And when I started preparing for this class in the last week or two, I've begun to just make some of those phone calls, where you talk for 30 minutes, you take time, you problem solve, you take time to laugh and pause and even pray at the end of your phone call. I thought, wow, some of that for me personally, I really had to end up strategizing it to make that inspiration in my heart, actually happen. And so I don't know what kind of new rules you guys have, what kind of chores are driving you crazy. There's new stuff happening, I've never cleaned my living room so much with pillows and blankets, right? I've got a cat that comes in every day. I'm like, he's driving me crazy. And not putting everything back where it belongs. We're just kind of, low key letting my house just kind of enjoy 24/7. My husband closed his company, so he's been home, and that's been really different for me. I've got my sister right next door to me, and my mom is living with her. So I'm over there having coffee and caring for some of that going on. And my 2 daughters live in Florida. Remember, my daughter got married, and then my other daughter had a baby. So that's kind of my small world. That's my ones that I'm talking to every day. And so I thought we could address some of that tonight. We'll talk about our house chores. We'll kind of talk about who we're connecting with these days, whether it's virtual or if we're, just being able to communicate on our telephones and FaceTimes. And then we can just talk about kind of how we are, me, myself, and I, what kind of shape am I in? And we took on this big quarantine, and what an opportunity it is. We're saying we're going to slow down our pace. We're going to have a little bit of a less routine. We're going to have a little bit of extra time in there. And guess what? We have the opportunity to come out of this thing stronger. They're saying that we could be depressed and we could be messed up and there could be suicide, there could be drugs. I mean, the list goes on and on about what could happen to us. And there are times, don't you feel a bit overwhelmed and you feel like, wow, there is that anxiety. But God's like, wait a minute. I've got something great here. There's some great life that I want you to tap yourself into. And it's some of that Bible reading and prayer and being able to just declare your heart with some of that. So hopefully we can inspire you with some of that. So I thought I'd start us off by, I was reading on social media, Leah, she was on there, and I just loved what she said. And just listen to this, because I thought, the more I pondered on it, the more I thought, each of us in this class, we should kind of be coming up with a paragraph like this. And this is what she says. I wonder how we will look at this 10 years from now, when this quarantine is all over and everybody got this cared for. I wonder how we will look back on this 10 years from now. I hope I remember electronic game nights, specialty coffees, porch hangs, countless movie nights, and Bible reading plans with friends, virtual classes with the Wednesday night class, right? And watching families take walks together, and all the richness of life in this weird time. And that's the thing that kind of jumped off the page, off my telephone when I was reading it, because it's the richness of time. We're going to have the good and the bad and the ugly, right? The difficult things that get exaggerated when you're kind of quarantined and locked down in a place. Things can really get exaggerated. But yet she's choosing to find the richness of this weird time. And I thought, before this thing is over, I'm going to list out, I know one of my things is this joke that my husband and I have every morning. Wish we had more time, or we'd get it done. And I'll tell my hubby, let's get to the garage today. Let's do this. And he'll be like, if I just had more time. And we kill ourselves laughing. It's the stupidest joke. We do it every single day. So, what are your things that are 10 years from now, they'll be the things that make it special. And it's worth kind of thinking about it. You got to kind of ponder for a minute and think, what has been special? Talking to my kids in Florida and playing Catan on, on Skype, all that kind of stuff. So pretty cool. I just want to encourage you to use that word hope, because there is great hope here. God's got an opportunity for us. We're going to be stronger women. And we may even make a friend or two on this virtual world. That's like Angela coming and starting her new life with these little boxes. It's a great opportunity. So we thought we would start with some of these house chores. We're there, we're women, and we wanted to take a minute and look at the house chores in the Bible. How about this? And we have a listing of them. Is this a good time, Jamey, to put them up? And then I can kind of walk through them a little bit. I think you're muted. You got to unmute yourself. There you go.
Sorry. I forgot to get that ready. So you keep talking and I'll see if I can get it.
Yeah, it's interesting. And this will take us just a few minutes, but it's kind of fun. The more I learned about it, the more I did. I have this women's Bible that did a whole series on homemaking in the Bible days. And their very premise of life is water. And they would choose their houses where they were going to live by fresh pastured fields and water. It was just such a big deal. And their routine started early in the morning. They had to get somebody in the house had the responsibility, which sometimes was the woman, using that goat skin bucket, and they'd walk down, they'd fill up the water early in the morning because it was going to get hot. So all of that kind of counted. And I thought, wow, here we get up, sometimes our refrigerator has water we're going to. I have had to find distilled water. I got a couple plants that only want distilled water, and boy, that has been hard to find at times. But anyway, so we got drawing water. The next one is grinding grain. I mean, we think that our production of food, 3 times a day now. I heard this lady at the grocery store. She goes, I've never spent so much money on groceries. And my heart resonated with her because I thought that is true. I am buying ingredients over and over again. Things are getting put into leftover containers. And when we eat that, which I think we're doing pretty good, my hubby and I like to have a victory moment when I kind of clean out the whole thing's been eaten and the carton of almond milk has been thrown in the garbage, whatever it is, whatever the garbage is or the leftover is, when it has been eaten, wow, what a hallelujah course it is. But back in those days in the Bible, they did corn and they did wheat, right? So they were taking corn and putting them on metal trays and stick them out in the sun. And then the corn would pop, almost like popcorn. Or they were taking that corn and they were grinding it. And they were making these little cakes and putting them in their fires that were made out of hay and grass. And talk about difficult. But it's interesting that in their culture, that's what they were doing. And then sometimes when they would save their dough with their leaven, they could get their corn and their wheat, all into that and actually have a loaf of bread. But the people, what they were eating, this is interesting, goat milk, olives, and barley bread kind of were their diets. So do we have a lot to be thankful for in the year 2020? We have a big year we're living, but guess what? We're eating great food, and we're not working so hard as they did back in the Bible days, but they had to really kind of put it into routine, and they had to strategize. They had to kind of give out the responsibility of what needed to get done because they could not live without those fresh fields and without water. So isn't that interesting? The huge big effort there. So the other thing that they had, and I'm just taking a few minutes here, taking time with, was fashion. They had fashion. So Donna, you're gonna just love this. We're making masks around here, but back in those days, they were so hot with the weather, they would have these big pieces of fabric that they would, weave the fabric and make the clothing and spin the wool. All of this is happening in preparation. But they had to wear the robes because it was hot. It was kind of cool to have those big robes. And then they were wearing turbans because it was so hot. And they were putting like fringe on the bottom of priestly robes. I mean, when you got into that fashion, I thought, oh my word. My favorite thing is just darning clothes. I just like to sew up holes in socks. Donna, you'd be proud of me. I told Donna I need to learn how to sew, but I was the one when we traveled evangelistically, all 17 of us, they all brought their clothes to me so that I could be the sewer, the seamstress, and I just had a needle and thread. So, but all of these are things that we're doing, right? We're just cooking and we're preparing, we're caring for the kids. And then you have social tasks. Now social, that's a big one. And you can kind of pass up social, right? So if you're hiding or not so much hiding, but you're just quiet or you don't want to participate, you can kind of stay home and not go to Wednesday night class. You can just kind of, but if you're going to really do it well, you're going to offer invites in your life, right? Some kind of a welcome that says, I welcome when somebody comes to the door, whoever answers the door, they usually say, hey, wait a minute, I'm going to get my mom. She's going to help welcome you into the house. She's going to ask you to do coffee time. She's going to just have the welcome in my eyes and my mouth. Now that I have a mask, I have to make friends this way, instead of, the welcoming of my face that says, I want to get to know you. So welcome, food. And here's another one. I know I'm kind of talking fast, but I'm going to get through this stuff. The word rest is huge for a woman. And, these tasks that we're doing, we have to bring rest into our home. We're the ones that are saying, I'm going to just read for tonight. I'm going to just play some music. I'm going to have some downtime. What are you doing for alone time? Even if your house is full, you got to be locking a door somewhere, or you got to be driving in your car somewhere. Where's the setup for alone time? So some of this is really, really important. And last but not least, Jamey and I wanted to talk about some of these spiritual tasks that we have as women and what we had in the Bible days. And let's see, a woman would be the one that prayed for her family. And how many times has Pastor Shane talked about in his preaching that the kids go to bed and his wife's going to sleep and he walks around the house and prays for his family? That has been so endearing to me. And even, even now I don't have my kids, but I can walk around the house when my kids have visited. I can pray for them. And there are other two that I thought were really cool. And last time we talked about this, the ladies really enjoyed talking about this. So we took a little bit of extra time, but preparing for the Sabbath. Sunday was coming. And now, do we do that here? Virtual Sunday is coming. I'm lining up my computer of who I want to see. I realized I like preachers. I just didn't realize how much I want to go all over America and find out who's preaching where. Pastor Shane is my favorite. We get him done, and then my hubby's like, hey, I'm going to let you do more church, but I'm out of here. So I think Easter, I had like 4 hours of church lined up for my hubby, and he's like, I cannot do this any longer. Every week, you're just adding and adding and adding what are more things that we can do. But anyway, preparing for the Sabbath, and then the other one was filling our oil lamps. And the one thing that I thought was so cool is you always hear these sermons about, the 10 virgins, 5 of them had oil, 5 of them were not prepared. And I didn't know it was the woman in the home that was filling those oils. It's our responsibility, in the Bible days, if we were living, that we would actually not have that chore done. And so that's kind of a synopsis of what it was in the Bible days, but I wanted to open it up for Jamey because she did such a great job on talking about that, filling the oil lamps, and maybe you can kind of add to some of the casual that I've kind of thrown out.
Sure. Preparing for the Sabbath is something that I think we could easily overlook because we're already at home, and the Sabbath is almost like a tithing principle. The Sabbath is the first day of the week, and a lot of calendars nowadays don't start on Sunday, which is our Sabbath in present day. They start on Monday, and they make Sunday the end of the week, but really Sunday should be the first day of the week, and that's because we give God our first, not our last. And so preparing for the Sabbath could be the actual literal day of rest, but I would encourage you to plan for rest every day. Plan for rest in the morning. Make a plan to know this is how I'm going to purposely seek God. And if you take Sunday to actually plan your week, then there are opportunities for you to be more structured. And hold on one second. There we go. If you plan ahead of time, there are opportunities for you to be more purposeful about the time that you have. So I would encourage you to think of the Sabbath as not optional. It is one of the 10 commandments, and there are so many benefits to that. And then also just talking about the oil, the anointing of oil represents the Holy Spirit. And as Robin mentioned, the woman was the one to prepare the oil lamps. They didn't have electricity like we did. And those oil lamps were used for a lot of things. And it was really important that it not run out. And if it ran out, that kind of fell on that woman to say like, hey, why isn't our family prepared? Why aren't you prepared? And if you read Matthew 25, that's where the passage appears that is the 10 virgins, and 5 of them were prepared and 5 weren't. And the ones who weren't prepared were deeply grieved. And so I would encourage you to just think about this opportunity, this downtime. I love that Robin said, hold on one second. What shape am I in? Am I caring for myself? Am I going to come out stronger? I don't know about you guys, but I noticed that, and I didn't share it greedily because I don't want there to be a mass rush on community aid, but this is crazy. It tells you where I'm at in my life, cleaning stuff out. But I was excited. I was finally hopeful that the COVID thing was going to end because I saw community aid is reopening for donations. Woohoo! Their bins are opening and they're taking donations at their store. I've been cleaning out forever and I have a mountain of things and nowhere to take it. And I thought, how distorted is this that community aid gives me hope? But it does. And so I was thinking, when I saw that community aid was opening and when I saw that they have a plan, you know, for these different phases, it made me realize like, hey, this time is coming to an end. what do I want to remember? Just like Robin said, what do I want to be different? It reminded me of snowstorms. And I don't know if we'll appreciate blizzards like we did before, but remember before the whole quarantine thing, when it snowed here in Central PA, people would go to the store and it wasn't toilet paper, but it was bread and milk, and it disappeared and it was gone, and it could be 2 inches and it'll still be gone. But if there was a blizzard coming, we really prepared to dig in. And so we stayed at home, and we saw it as a blessing because it was almost like it was mandated because we had no other choice. And most people, unless you had to do a lot of shoveling yourself, looked forward to that blizzard time. And back before any of this happened, I felt God telling me, why do you have to wait until there's a blizzard? You just go ahead and dig in and make the time that you would have made any other time. We are in charge of our lives, and we don't have to wait for a stay-at-home order or a blizzard in the future. You can decide, take the good that you've gotten out of this time frame, and maybe consider scheduling a stay-at-home day. Maybe just put it on your calendar. You probably don't want to think about that because we all just want to be free in God's timing. But maybe in September or maybe January, maybe that's a way to just plan ahead and to prepare for a Sabbath. Maybe pick a, almost like teachers schedule an in-service day. Schedule a day for your future, because there's a time coming when this is going to be behind us. And we're going to want to know, what was the benefit to that? What do I want to remember? It's almost like the joy of your salvation. How many things are in your life that you prayed for that now feel like a burden? We pray for time and we pray for opportunity with God. And then if we don't take that, we've really missed out. So that was a question that Robin said. What shape am I in? That's something that I would encourage you to think about. Am I caring for myself? Am I going to come out stronger? And then, let's stop. And Robin, do you have anything else to add, or do you want to go right into discussion?
I just wanted to add, because sometimes we just get loosey-goosey. Like, it kind of, life happens fast. That's how we've been living for a couple of years. And, when we decide to tidy it up, and God's given us this wonderful couple weeks, usually it takes a week to a week of vacation to kind of wake up to some things. But we've had, now God's really waking us up to tidy ourselves. And those daily routines are really can be beneficial, when we make sure that, wow, I can't get through my day. I actually have extra time now to read my Bible, and it's been such, you can see a difference in your own life. So I just wanted to mention again the changes that can come just by a little bit of tidying and a little bit of strategy can really make a difference. And looking at kind of all that needs to be done with, your spiritual and your household chores, there's a lot to pick and choose from in a day. And what do you guys think about, just being able to do your everyday routines? Any thoughts?
Realize too, not everybody may have tons of free time. Donna, you're probably busier than ever. And some of you other guys, Jamoki, I'm sure you don't have any extra time either. So even if you don't have extra time, doesn't mean that we can't be purposeful. Anybody have thoughts on?
I work from home.
You work from home. So do you have any extra time, Lisa, or not really?
During the day, no. I try to get up every so often because you're at work, you talk to other people. So I try to get up, I come out and talk to my mom and dad.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. So
you didn't realize how hard working from home was going to be.
Yeah. Does really require being purposeful about a whole lot of things. I'm trying to be sure that I get up and walk around. My steps have plummeted because when I was at church, I at least went to the copier, especially if I couldn't print it right. But at home here, I'm sitting. So I've tried to be more purposeful. What else are you guys?
I don't even have to get up to go to the copier. It sits right beside me.
Yeah. Yeah, me too now. Yep.
Happens to all of us.
Anybody else? What are you trying to be more purposeful about? Donna. Siegel. We can't hear you. You're on mute. There you go.
There. I've always had that. If I just had 2 weeks that I could, and we have a big old house, and we have a in-law house out in the backyard that's, 1920s, so it's old, and it's always needed redone, and I'm doing that, and it's a lot of repair before I can, and so I'm gonna get it done. I'm gonna get it done.
Woohoo!
It's been a lot of work, and
Yeah.
you never have that time. You think you can, but you don't.
Yeah.
But you don't realize how much when you start something, how you take for granted that, oh my gosh, I need to go to the Ace Hardware because I don't have this. And then you come back and that didn't work, and you have to run back. And, it's like, oh, I never really thought of it before because
Yeah.
you could just go and do.
Yeah. Do you have a special use for that part of your property for the future?
Well, we have a 3-story house, and then that place too, and we've had 9 kids here and teenagers, and it's just my husband and I. So I'm thinking, if and when we ever decide to sell or had to sell or whatever, it needed done, and
Yeah.
it's something that needs done.
You will be prepared. You're trimming that wick, filling the oil. Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody have thoughts on what shape are you in? Are you
I have actually felt, I like something went around Facebook saying that we're not all in the same boat. We're in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat.
right?
I've actually had moments of wishing that I were laid off, which is not a really nice thing to do, especially for people who really are laid off and who are struggling because of that. But my husband and I are in business together. Our business is deemed essential. And so, but a lot of our customers are laid off. So they have a lot of time to bug us on a daily basis about their car or whatever we're working on for them. And so it has actually been way more busy for us. However, I have felt kind of a slowing down inside, wanting to be intentional about Bible study, wanting to be intentional about prayer, and changing my routine. So it gives me energy to get up in the morning earlier. I have to, because it doesn't change that I still have to go to work every day. But I want to get up earlier so I can make sure. So I'm hoping that make sure that I get my Bible study and reading time and things like that done. So I'm hoping that even when we do go back to normal, whatever the new normal is going to be, that I won't go back to the old routine. That, it will, the Bible study and the prayer time in the morning, it's not when I can fit it in anymore. It has to be in the morning for me, because that's when it changes my whole day. So I'm hoping that it will continue that way. That's what I pray for.
Awesome. That's a great prayer. Anybody else have thoughts? Any positive habit that you picked up that you'd like to continue? Robin, they're wanting to know what preachers you're listening to.
Oh, well, I have a pastor that's actually mentoring my daughter down in Florida at the Family Worship Center. His name is Pastor Sean, and I just can't get enough of that guy, So, and I only because he's pouring into my kids down there. My son-in-law is on staff with him, and I'm praying for this guy because he's like infecting my kids, and I want to hear kind of what sermons they're hearing, so I know how to talk to my kids. So there's a little bit of motive in there, but I do enjoy. I've got a few nephews and cousins. A lot of mine is family. On Easter, I had like 7 different, little. So most of it's my family. I've got Tiffany Hammer, which is my niece that's in Elevation Music, and I always have to kind of tap in on her. And I have a nephew that's a pastor in Philadelphia. And he's in the process of putting together masks that have scriptures on them, and he's giving them out to all of the grocery lines. So he's doing some great things, and I like following his heart and what he's got going for
That's
the city
awesome.
of Philadelphia.
What's the name of his church, Robin?
His church is called The Change.
The Change. Okay.
The Change, yeah.
Robin again is family centered. Did you guys catch that? Robin previously led our Tuesdays Bible study, great big old ministry, about 100 ladies in there. And she's had some shifts in her life. And during the time that she's been away from formal ministry at CLA, she's been investing in her family. And I just wanted to recap a couple of things that she said to be sure that you guys caught it. She is watching those sermons of people in her family, and you might not all have ministry leaders in your family, but she decided to call people instead of texting them. She also mentioned praying at the end of your phone call. She prayed with me today at the end of my phone call with her. She also mentioned praying while people sleep, and maybe they're not all in your home, but you can still pray. If the Lord wakes you up, pray about it. Pray for those family members. And I would challenge you to say, what relationships are in my life that could use a little spruce up? What people have I not made time for that maybe now I could? And notice I said, make time for, because we are in charge of our schedule. And we make time for what we want to make time for. If you had a doctor's appointment and you put it on your calendar, you would be there. So take your calendar when you get done here and put a little block of time. It could be 15 minutes, but 15 minutes a day could make a dramatic change in your relationships. Anybody else have any ways that you're reaching out to improve your relationships? Any other tips? I love what Robin shared. How about you guys? Go ahead, Donna Siegel.
I go to Trinity Lutheran, and what they did was give kind of the younger, I'm not that young, but give you like 10 people to call every week so you're kind of in charge of those people, and you just check in on them, and some of them just talk and talk and talk, and some of them say, I'm fine, but
how do you start that conversation, Donna? What do you say when you call?
Hey, I'm Donna. And now I have one that's calling me, they take the older 80, 90-year-olds and maybe 70s retired people, and you just make sure that do you need anything, and if you need something, we'll get it for you. So it's been kind of an experience of talking to people.
Yeah. And do you think those connections may go beyond this time frame?
Yeah, but our church is little, so we're kind of a family. But some of those people I didn't know for sure, or had to say, I'm the little short blonde one, the crazy one that's bopping around.
Yeah.
So
we've actually had some feedbacks from shut-ins who previously weren't able to ever interact in a live way. They would watch the service online, but prior to Zoom, CLA didn't offer anything live, kind of like back and forth. And we've had some feedback. The shut-ins are actually really grateful. And so that's been a positive that's come out of it. How else are you guys investing in relationships? Krista's saying checking in on our next door neighbor regularly. And Simone commented again about Zoom and how it's helped to prioritize catching up with people. It doesn't have to be in a group. You could do this with your relatives, just one person even. We're in the process of selling our house, and my realtor called and said, could you please do a Zoom? She wants me to do a video tour of our house through Zoom. And I was like, wow, I didn't know we were using Zoom for that, but it sounds like we can do a lot with it. How else are you prioritizing relationships?
Jamie.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
I came in this meeting late. I'm so sorry. Did it start at 8?
Starts at 8. Yeah.
Oh, that was 8:30. Sorry.
It's recorded, so you can catch the beginning.
Better late than never, right?
That's right.
Anyway, So I got involved with the food bank, and now I'm gonna, at least for the summer, do it, because I was like not aware of it. So that was nice. And then I've called, you guys, some of you guys know that I drive special needs kids. So I actually made up at Easter, I made something because I had ordered Easter eggs for them. So I made up little bags, and I called them. And I actually have one of them that I talk to every Friday at 9 o'clock. And he's just like, he just loves it, and it's such a blessing. Around here, I just try to be more aware of my husband because he works for Comcast, so he's not off. And, just try to do more things for him, and being more attentive, I guess, more pleasant than, because he said that his boss said he's worried that if they don't communicate to the person that they're outside, they're not allowed to go the door anymore. So his boss is worried that, somebody could just pull a gun out because somebody's working outside on the house. So I just heard that tonight, but that was kind of scary at the same time,
Well, that could be stressful. Huh.
I just got to turn it over.
That's right. That's right. Robin, can you share those household tasks again? Just those 3 or 4 that you had, just to remind us.
Yeah, from the Bible days, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was one on there too that those spiritual ones are pretty cool for, what they did in the Bible days is they usually would read Proverbs 31 at the end of the meal after the preparing for the Sabbath. The woman did all the food and like we're trying to get our kids to our families to church. We're getting dressed. We're coming home for this big meal. It all takes time and preparation. And then they took moments of honoring her. And I thought, well, I'm all about that. Right? Tell me that you love me. Tell me that I count being here. But there was another one too on that spiritual task that says drawing extra water. Because sometimes when Sunday hits, if you're really wanting restful time, you can't be mowing the lawn that day. And you're going to call your buddy at work. And then you're going to make sure there's things you can be doing. But that drawing extra water, like every day you're going to go get your water in the Bible days, but then you're going to get extra water for Sunday because they don't want you taking that big trip down to the water. And I just was thinking to myself, wow, the whole idea that, living water is what God offers us. The Samaritan woman, he says, there's water to drink, but if you're really thirsty and your soul is heavy or wanting more, I have living water, and it's usually associated with abundant living, so that whole idea of collecting extra spiritually, like usually on Sunday, I'll be like, man, if I could just, maybe on the weekend, read my Bible a little bit more because during the week I'm busier, but on Sunday or on Saturday and Sunday, I can actually read maybe a chapter or just have a little bit more casual time. So it's the idea that God always has more for us. That whole word more is so big in the spiritual talk world because our spirit wants more, right? Our soul wants more. And so there's ways to strategize so that you can actually get more. In this modern day, we're not going to pick up water in the morning, but we still can look at our day and say, how can we really do the best? So I just think that, that strategy of our daily routine really does count. And sometimes we get discouraged because we try things and then it fades away or we make mistakes. And that's a big world because we're trying new things now, right? And because we're in our homes, it could be exaggerated. Maybe there's some drama happening with us. And so it's good to address too. Yes, life can be perfect and get all the chores done and we're going to do our social times and we're going to work on our spiritual tasks, but sometimes it doesn't go well, right? And what do we do? And it says in Psalms 24:16 that the righteous fall down, but they get up 7 times. So one of the ways that we have is that God bids us to keep coming and drinking of this, fountain of joy that's in there. It's all kind of, those are great words for the Christian world, but but to hang with it, like when the drama happens and you're talking with people at your work, or things aren't going well, or your Aunt Matilda is just giving you a hard time, you know, we stay level-headed, and we are gentle with our ways. Those are things that ahead of time we can say, you know, this phone call is going to be difficult, or I feel and sense in my heart that, you know, I'm kind of just going to walk away here because things are getting too tight. So in all of that, there's ways that we can just be direct, we can be honest, we can keep signing up kind of for all of these relationships in our family, these ones that God is wanting us to minister to, our neighbor ladies that we're just getting to know. Sometimes it can be scary. All of that hardship time, we can ahead of time say, God, help me with this, and realize that, you know, I could sit here and complain, right? And it starts, you know, in your head, and then it goes to your heart, and then it's in your spirit. And yet, as we strategize for our day that's going to unfold, and we could have these moments of disappointment, or, you know, where we're overwhelmed because somebody hurt our feelings, we're going to choose to be these godly women that take these spiritual tasks to heart. So ahead of time, we're going to put some oil in our lamps. We're going to say, hey, when I'm talking to this person, I'm going to choose to not raise my voice. I'm going to be kind. I'm going to be direct with, this is how I'm feeling. You know, some of that stuff that's super honest and vulnerable, that's kind of where we shine as Christians, because that's what's happening in our heart. It's not like we're always saying the happy thing. We're saying the honest thing. So I want to encourage us, as we feel the good, the bad, and the ugly of this. We hope for these 10 years from now, we're going to look back on this, but there will be moments when we're saddened with ourselves that we didn't handle something exactly how we wanted to, or we fell by the wayside. You know, it took me 5 weeks to call a cousin out in California. You know, why? I could be super discouraged about that, but guess what? I got a strategy. I'm tapping into the living water. God's calling me, bidding me to come over and over and over again to spend time, so that I can handle these moments that are coming my way, whether they're exaggerated or whether they're super joyful in our lives. I'm ready for them, because I'm looking to say, I gotta like prepare for my weekends. I gotta prepare for my virtual class. I gotta prepare for my job that I'm going to. And it all just takes some great moments with
Absolutely.
all of these tasks that we're doing.
Yeah. Anybody else have feedback, or can you share your takeaway from tonight? What stuck with you? Anybody have any ideas of things you might implement? Just a couple reminders, questions for you. Who are you connecting with? What shape am I in? And then use the word hope. Robin mentioned Leah Marshall. She has another name. I forget what it is. That's her maiden name. Leah, the post that Robin shared. Leah mentioned, I hope I remember the richness of life. Are you able to find something that you could say is rich at this point in your life? Just meaning, what is it that I want to remember? Any other thoughts before we leave? They like the spiritual tasks that you described. That's awesome. There are some really cool illustrations. You know, sometimes we read the Bible and the Proverbs 31 woman, we could get overwhelmed by that, especially when you see, like, she literally was like a real estate agent, and then she made her own clothes and spun her own wool, and her children rise and call her blessed. Excuse me. Something to remember is that she also had servant girls who helped with all of that. So do not become overwhelmed. I have servant girls, and they are, their names are GE and Samsung and Whirlpool. And so we have servant girls of our own, modern day appliances. Remember, they had to go get the water. Robin talked about that. I turned the spigot on. So don't be intimidated by her, but realize that she did have help, even beyond the help that we have. So we just want to challenge you guys to stay in the Word, work on your relationships, and find something that you can hope in, and something that you want to remember. And then go ahead, get your calendar when we hang up, and go schedule some stay-at-home days. I know you probably have had enough, but I would challenge you to schedule those stay-at-home days, put it on the calendar, and then keep that appointment, because I think you'll be glad you did. And then talk to us at the end of the year, New Year's Eve. I want to hear about your stay-at-home days and what the benefits to those were. So anybody else have any thoughts before we pray and dismiss? I'm going to post a poll on our Facebook page to see. Typically, our classes would be ending in 2 weeks. I'm considering starting a book discussion group or doing some other stuff. I'd love to hear from you guys. You could private message me or fill out the poll or whatever if you have ideas for the future. So, Robin, thank you so much for sharing with us. Really appreciate it. We're giving you virtual claps. I guess we can give you the real ones. We have emojis down there. Everybody find your reactions. There we go.
Oh,
There we go. How about that? You got some thumbs up and some
I
comments.
didn't realize that. Wow.
That's under reactions at the bottom. So thanks again. We really love and appreciate Robin. I always get a lot of value out of what you share. So let's close in prayer. If you guys have individual prayer requests that you would like me to pray for, or you'd like added to the intercessors list, if you want me to pray, just message me or email me. My email address is my name. It's jamey.mcclintock@clacamphill.com, or you can use prayer@cla.com. No, clacamphill.com. We want to be able to pray for you guys. We want to be here for you. If you have practical needs, let us help you, and just keep in touch. Okay. Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I come to you, Lord, and Father, I just lift up these ladies. Father, some of them have really difficult situations, and Lord, I just pray your fullest blessing on them. I pray that they would know your presence, Lord. I pray that they would recognize that you are there with them. Lord, I pray for encouragement. I pray for Sabbath rest, God. I pray that you would help them to carve out the time to seek you, Lord. I pray that their schedules would open up. And even if it's just an extra 15 minutes a day, God, I pray that their time with you would be blessed. I know, God, that you love them and that you want to bless them with wisdom. And so I pray that they would seek you. Lord, thank you for all that my friend Robin has shared. I pray that her words, which are yours, would fall on good soil. Lord, help us to remember what was shared and help us to apply it. God, be in our relationships. Be in everything that we say and do, God. May we honor you. Bless my friends. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, guys. It was great seeing you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie.
Have a good night.
We'll see you next week.
Good night.
All right, bye.
Good
Good
night.
everyone.
Bye. They must leave.